Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a quick one just to show you the updates I've done to my Apache Collective build. The updated files will soon be available in my Thingiverse, the link in the description. The first and most noticeable change is that the grip is now detachable, as you can see. This was suggested by a friend that told me he had it mounted in his work desk chair, and it was a little bit in the way when he wasn't playing. But this feature also opens the possibility to design different grips for the same base in the future. Since another change that I've done is placing the Arduino board in the gearbox instead of inside the grip. So now the Arduino board is inside here. The grip connects to the base using this DB9 connector, which have nine pins. 4 of them are used for the I2C communication lines, that is data, clock, and also VCC and ground, which are shared for the analog devices as well. And then another 4 for each analog input. The 9th pin is unused with this method. But if you were to use shift resistors instead of I2C port expanders, which is also a very good option, you would need the 5th pin. On screen, you can see the mapping I use for this connector, but you can use your own. The grip connects with the base with this screw here. So you place the grip in place and then screw it. And it's held tightly. However, I will include the non-detachable version of the grip in my Thingiverse in case someone wants to just have the grip fixed to the base as explained in the build series. Earlier, I mentioned the gearbox, but it's actually no longer a gearbox, since the next change I want to talk about is that I've replaced the analog potentiometer that was connected via gears with an AH-5600 Hall effect sensor. This is the board, right? And this sensor here uses a special magnetized, polarized magnet, like this one here, that is magnetized. It's not north one side and south the other side. Instead, north is on top of it and south, obviously, at the other side of the circumference. And it's able to read rotation of such magnet. This, as you can see, connects to the Arduino board via I2C. Here are the I2C pins, CL and SDA. And that frees up one of the analog pins we were using previously, since we don't have an analog potentiometer anymore. So now that we are only using 2 analog ports for the X and Y axis, let me introduce you to the next change, next update, which is these volume-like knobs here. There is one here and one here. I'm using this kind of volume knob things, and this can be used for Zoom, for instance, or in my case that I play VR and you cannot Zoom in VR, I use this one for the startup procedure, and this is my throttle up and throttle down knob. Another important change I've made since the recording of the series is ditching the PCF 8575 expansion boards. I've had too many of them failing me to trust them anymore. So it might be a user error, who knows? But the thing is that I've tried a different chip, the MCP23017, which is also on a 16IO expansion board via I2C, exactly the same as the PCF. But I've had not one single board to fail ever since I switched. So they are much more reliable, at least for me. Since the Arduino is now in the box, I've added another one of these boards and connected all inputs to them instead of having the last inputs connected directly to the Arduino, as I showed in the build series. If you remember, we used only 2 port expanders, and there were, I don't know, 5 or 6 pins left that didn't fit in those boards, and we connected them to available pins in the Arduino board. That is no longer possible because the Arduino is inside the box and we don't have enough pins to transfer that information. So what I did is add a third expansion board inside, and that feels a little bit of waste since there will be several pins not used, but these boards are very inexpensive, so I guess that's well, you know, it's something that you can live with it. Something else I have did are the DIY 4-way switches, the ones that we were using for these hats here and this one here. If you remember from the series, we were using a DIY option. And the thing is that I found these switches here you can find them in AliExpress. These are 10 by 10 by 10 switches, and they have a very, very nice feel to them. They work very well. I've designed a PCB for them to make them easier to solder leads to them, but you can still solder leads directly to the legs. Yeah, there you are. I will share a mounting plate in case you don't want to order that PCB, and then you can solder the legs directly, the leads directly to the legs. I will leave a picture here of what each leg is, and then the 2- and 3-way switches, which are these ones here, I still use the DIY solution. I think that's the best option. The 4-ways are the ones that are that were a little bit more iffy. These ones are very nice as they are, so I still do the DIY ones. And last but not least, I've strengthened the design a little bit to make it a little bit more sturdier by adding some more screws, more screw points. Like originally, I think there was only 1 screw here. Now I have 2 screws. There's another one here, and also there's 1 screw that screws from behind the trigger into this piece here. So this kind of lip doesn't raise up, and it's hold tight against the rest of the grip. So there's a screw that comes from inside the trigger. And also I've replaced the piano wire that I use for the triggers. Let me see if I can focus this. Now I'm using a M2 by 20 millimeter screw, like these ones, to hold both triggers. So you can see them, yes, here. And that way you can remove the trigger if you need to. Before, with the piano wire, I've had instances that I needed to take it away because, well, I cannot tell you how many times I've put the trigger wrongly with this small lip behind that holds the trigger here and prevents it from going, this way. I've mounted it so many times with that lip already out, And then once you put that piano wire in, you cannot take it out without destroying the trigger. And I've done that at least a couple or 3 times. So yeah, and now with this screw, I can just unscrew it and, you know, take it apart. Let me finish the video on a note on serviceability. I'm currently working on improving even more this design a little bit. I'm working on adding screws to the sides. So if you remember, this has not changed. The 2 halves of the grip, so this half and this half, and also this half and this half, are glued together, are super glued together. And also, as you can see here, once you super glue these 2 halves and these 2 halves, you also super glue this half and this half, right? So this is now one single piece. And the only thing that you can take apart is this hat section and obviously this hat section, but it's still one single part. If for whatever reason, for instance, these buttons broke, it's very hard to access them like that. So I'm going to be adding some screws to be able to split them apart again. If you build it properly, you should not need to do that ever, and I have not had to do it, but I think it's a good option to be able to take them apart, and I will also have the ability, design it so we can also have it in half. And I'm trying to minimize the use of super glue as much as possible. So yeah, that's what I'm working on, and that's gonna be a little bit coming later. But I will still leave the parts without the holes, so the ones that need to be super glued, because I honestly think someone may not want to have screw holes like this one all over the stick. And again, I think if you took care enough while building it, you should not need to open it, and it looks a little bit better without those holes. I'm not gonna use it for my own grip, so I'm gonna stick with the super glue version, but I just think it's a good addition and someone might want to have it. So yeah, later on I will be uploading that. So that being said, I hope you like the changes that I did. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!